For more on most of what we just discussed, maybe not the Bruins stuff so much, Tommy Curran, NBC Sports Boston, on a Tom E. Tuesday here on WEEI. He's brought to you by D'Angelo's Sandwiches, New England Sandwich Shop, and our sandwich shop every Tuesday here on Jones and Keefe. FlexCar, save thousands with your flexible car lease at flexcar.com. And by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. If you're hearing this, chances are you're less than 20 minutes away from the closest Awaken 180, a once-a-week lunch break, a quick stop on the way home from work, minutes away from proven weekly weight loss at awaken180weightloss.com. Tommy Curran, how we doing this week?
I'm good. Rich, I'm ready to back off that he's doing excellent.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett is not doing excellent.
We're backing away.
Yeah, these last 2 weeks have not
Needed
been.
more data.
Yeah, and we've gotten it. We've received 5 games of data.
We have data.
So what do you do? I'll tell you, yesterday, the way Mayo spoke to the Greg Hill show and the press conference, and then you get, Adam Schefter saying, the change is soon. I thought we might have an announcement by now. Do you still think there could be an announcement sometime this week, or is Jacoby Brissett going to run it back again on Sunday?
Yeah, I think there could be an announcement this week. I think there could be a decision. I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen, but I think that your read on it is correct. I mean, Mayo has said, including after the Jets game, we need to support Jacoby. We need to give him the opportunity, give him protection, give him everything he needs to succeed. And then just the obviously very different tenor of what he said Monday is clear. He is becoming, Mayo is, more evaluative of what Brissett is doing. Is he an impediment to winning right now? Is he causing them to not lose games? Are there plays left on the field that he's failing to make, either because he takes sacks too often, he's not accurate enough, not mobile enough, and will it be an upgrade? So all of those things enter into this, but to me, what's the most fascinating part of this, and I'm sure to you guys as well, because it's drama, there's a triangle of authority here, and there's a plan in place. Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, but are the Patriots overreacting at the first sight of blood? That, I think, is what's fascinating to watch.
So you wrote about this at NBC Sports Boston. It was Wazenchuk and Greer and Carroll, right, in the 90s, and the Crafts kind of oversaw all of it. So it's a triangle of authority, but the Crafts also had a role then. I'd imagine they have a role now. Who makes the call? If they make the switch, who makes the call?
It's so early in this process for this group that I would imagine they stick to the plan, which is, Gerard, it's your football team, okay? Elliot and I have this feeling, and I would be thinking that would be an Alex Van Pelt type of thing. Gerard, it's your football team. If you tell me, as Alex Van Pelt, offensive coordinator, you want to see Drake May on the field, we'll put him on the field. And maybe Elliot Wolf is over there shifting restlessly and saying, okay, but I think the Robert Kraft will leave it alone because it's so early. You don't want to take a flamethrower to the blueprint you have of how your structure is going to be. That would be my inclination. I think they're all smart enough to understand if you're going to say this is how it's going to be, to get 5 games in and then say, Gerard, no, we're not doing that, it would be a terrible idea. What would it be, 2 or 3? But that's why I guess this informs what happens next. If Gerard Mayo does indeed want to switch and pushes for that, and there's resistance or hesitancy, and they go with it, and it doesn't work out, well, then that sets the stage for future, yeah, but we did the wrong thing with May, and look what happened there. Or it sets the stage for success. Mayo was right. May's been better. And that's even presuming that Gerard would Bigfoot the situation. It's just there's competing interests here, and we knew where the buck stopped with Bill, and you don't as much right now.
How strong a hold does Alex Van Pelt have on play calling responsibilities?
I think it's a hammerlock. I still know where you would go unless you go to Ben McAdoo and hand them to him, but then you're losing basically emasculating the architect of your offense who's installing everything and saying, yeah, he's not good at that. So I would think that it is, again, judging by Mayo's tone in saying there's no conversation about that, that Van Pelt will continue to be the guy. We talked about gathering data.
Yeah.
And we had to gather data on Brissett and where he was. He's now plateaued or declining. And there's fewer times you can excuse what's going on the field because of a lack of protection. Same thing with Van Pelt. You know, the people who panned him when he was hired, I was reluctant to do that because I think it's incumbent upon us to let it play out a little bit if we're covering the team. Fans can do what they want. You guys can do what you want. Mm-hmm. I think if I'm supposed to give a reasoned opinion, I got to watch a few games. And I think now, as I wrote in my column, you have a guy who's got his hands at 10-2, driving through a rock slide going 30 miles an hour in the left lane. You got to hit the gas, buddy. Disaster is coming at you. Hurry up.
Well, and that's my point on Van Pelt. He might very well be the play caller all season long because there's not a lot of great alternatives, but we all sort of give him the excuse that the talent isn't great. Like, nobody's looking at it and be like, oh, you should be the greatest show on turf. But at the same time, shouldn't it be more than 12 points per game? Shouldn't there be fewer 3-and-outs? Like, I think even with this talent, you got to find a way to get more out of it. That doesn't seem unfair.
No, it doesn't seem unfair, but I do think you do have to give it time to see, okay, he's trying this, it's not working.
Yeah.
And that's why the notion of, look, we shouldn't be the ones coming up with the idea that, can you work in a wide receiver screen? Can you use the perimeter a little bit? Why do you have to get 3 games in of nitwits like us saying, wouldn't it be a good idea to get the ball to Demario Douglas before it goes to Demario Douglas? So he needs to be more, I believe, in my layperson's opinion, quick to react and less reactive to, you know, what's going on. Okay, well, still not working. I know. We all know it's not working. Do something else.
He's Tommy Curran, NBC Sports Boston. He joins us every Tuesday here on Jones and Keefe. What's your understanding on the Patriots' approach moving forward with Jabrill Peppers? They put out a statement. They're letting the legal process play out. At this hour, he's still a New England Patriot. Should he be, and will we see him on the field again before his next court date?
I think he should be continuing to be a New England Patriot until the issue is resolved one way or the other, and then a decision needs to be made exactly what happened to the best of the Patriots' ability and make a decision based on that. I think, you know, if I were the Patriots, what I would say is, he's been a good player. He's been a good employee. We owe it to him to let it play out. We also owe it to our community and individuals in it to understand the severity of the charges and what is alleged to have happened. So we will act accordingly once we get resolution from what has happened here. And I think it's insufficient when teams say gathering information. Explain that you have a commitment to an individual who is on your team and employed by you, and also a commitment to your community. It's not that hard. The teams hide behind we're gathering information. Say both. Say both. You could be much more transparent than you have been to date. So, I mean, they're obviously extremely serious allegations. If the individual's story and seemingly the police report check out, that there was physical contact, throwing down stairs, scrapes on elbows and knees. So that's not something you just go, oh, well, let's just play him. He'll get the message.
Well, and he's also hurt right now, too, which also throws a little bit of a curveball in there. Like, you don't know if he's going to be out next week because of injury, because of discipline, because of whatever. They can kind of use that a little bit as a shield, I guess.
Certainly.
But Tom, the news of the day around the league was that the New York Jets fired Robert Saleh. I'm curious, do you think Bill Belichick will be in the mix for that in the offseason? And is there any chance at all that they even put in a call to him in season?
Great way to phrase it. I think that Bill's burgeoning media empire would make him laugh out loud if he got a call from Woody Johnson saying, hey, you want to come in and coach the Jets? And if it didn't make him laugh out loud and he considered it, then Bill was more damaged by the offseason rebuffing by the entire league than I would have given him credit for. I think Bill's going to have his choice of opportunities. I said that in January before the Patriots moved on from him. All he had to do was spend a year in the media, charming people's faces off,
sure,
and removing the stench of, I don't want this guy here, and the 4-13 season. So I think he's on the right track, and to go to the Jets would be cuckoo, especially since we understand, as people have been watching the team for so long, Bill's number one concern is, who's my owner?
Yeah,
it's one of those pregnant pauses.
It's not a good situation there with
Woody
with the
Johnson's the
owner.
answer.
Woody
Johnson.
It's not a good situation.
No,
But so
it's not.
okay, Tom, let me ask you this, and just put your fan hat on for a moment. Where are you rooting for Bill to go? Like, where do you want to see him end up if he coaches again?
Boy, I hadn't thought of that. Dallas for the comedy, I think would be good. Philly for the angst of Eagles fans. Look, here's the funniest thing about Bill. Wherever he goes, he's going to gas the quarterback. Immediately. Well, not immediately. Pretty soon. Wherever he's been, he's trying to get away from whatever quarterback is in place. And whether it's Dallas and Dak, or whether it's the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, or whether it's Jacksonville and Lawrence, all of these different places have high-ticket quarterbacks with massive egos and their industries unto themselves. Bill doesn't roll with that very easily. He wanted Garoppolo to eventually take over for Tom. He couldn't stand Mac Jones. Had to get him out once he didn't like Mac. Same thing happened with Kosar. Same thing eventually happened with Bledsoe. It happens everywhere he goes. So teams have to be acquainted with Bill's track record relative to the quarterback. So that, to me, will be interesting to watch as well.
Okay, it's worth investigating because I had not considered that before. It's time now for Tommy Curran's Flex of the Game. It's presented by FlexCar. Ditch the dealership and save thousands with FlexCar. What's the Flex of the Game this week, Tom?
Flex of the Game from last week's game, I'm going to go with, Adam, is the flinging of the football down in the deep red zone by Alex Van Pelt when they had made so much progress on the ground to that point. Was careless. It was not reading the room. It was an opportunity wasted. So to me, flex of the game would be, and then Jacoby Brissett's throw into the middle of the field with 12 seconds left and no timeouts. That, to me, if you're Gerard Mayo, that would also be a co-flex. Because I'm looking at that play and saying, well, if he's out there to give us guidance and make the right plays, and we have one last chance to win the game, he throws it in a place where it ensures we won't win the game, that becomes something that bothers me a great deal.
Speaking of the that game with Miami, what was because I was watching it on TV and you could hear some boos and things like that, but what was the crowd reaction overall as the game went on? And then what do you think it's going to be this Sunday against Houston?
Studio guy right now, full.
Oh, right. My bad.
Full time. But I think this week against Houston, if Jacoby struggles, I think people will be hooting and hollering.
Yeah.
It's interesting though when you talk to a normal Patriots fan, they generally say, "Well, I wouldn't put May in there either." But I think all those normal Patriots fans, when they get into the stadium and they've spent their money and waited in traffic and had their beers and they're sitting there in their seats, it's entertained me. So the same guy who might have said, "I don't want May out there," when he gets in the stadium, he wants May for himself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. Because my whole point was, people were screaming like crazy at the games for Bailey Zappi over Mac Jones. So I can only imagine how much that is just going to be ramped up for somebody like Drake May replacing Jacoby Brissett. It felt like we got a little bit last week. I feel like, but they were also winning. So it was sort of weird. Like you're sitting there, you're like, well, we don't really need a quarterback change right now because we're winning the game. That's the whole point. But I think against Houston, there's obviously a great opportunity for it to look more like the San Francisco or New York game, and then that could get out of hand.
Yeah, no doubt, especially after what they did with Josh Allen this past weekend.
Yes.
Okay, he's Tommy Curran each and every week here on Jones and Keefe, high noon on a Tom E. Tuesday. Check him out all over NBC Sports Boston, Quick Slants tonight, WEEI afternoons on Thursday. Tom, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, talk to you soon.
Thank you, Tom.
Tommy Curran joining us here on WEEI.